Hello traders, Rich here and welcome to a new video. Today is going to be a little bit different because I'm going over multiple instruments in one video to feel the overall market. We'll start with US500, DXY, and then we'll dig into crypto by starting with USDT dominance, Bitcoin, and then Ethereum. So let's do it. We'll start with US500 because we all know that currently the crypto market is correlated with the US500. So we can clearly see that price rejected this previous supply zone and we traded lower from here. We are currently approaching a very strong support zone, was acting as support previously, broken downward, a resistance now, broken upward, support and demand, also as support multiple times. That's why as long as we are above it, we'll be looking or speculating that the bulls would take over, unless of course the support is broken downward, just like here for example, then it would become a resistance and we'll be expecting further movement downward. So keep an eye on the US500 to know if the bulls will take over from here or we will have a trend continuation to the downside. If you zoom into H4 time frame, you can clearly see the supply zone even better, and we are currently forming just like this swing low right here, sorry, swing high right here. So I would like to see a very similar scenario. We had a channel, a break up above it, a classic retester, and we traded higher. We also, since we had an aggressive movement upward from here, we also have a short-term demand zone, and price is currently filling it and forming the swing high, pretty much just like what happened previously. We can see it even better from H1 time frame. We might have an inverse head and shoulders, a double bottom, or any bullish reversal pattern, but for now this is our last high from H4 and H1. Of course, we also have this one. Thanks for extra confirmation. Would like to see a break above both. In this case, we'll be expecting further movement upward. On the XY, we usually see the exact opposite. From weekly time frame, we are retesting the 110, which is a massive resistance zone. If you zoom out, let me delete the previous drawings. So this is support and resistance, as you clearly see multiple rejections from. We also have this big supply zone. It is a drop, base, and then drop again. So it's a big massive supply, and the upper bound of it happens to be also the 110 that price is failing to break above. If you zoom into daily time frame, you can also see that of course we are still bullish inside this rising broadening wedge, and we've got two possible scenarios from here. First of all, maybe a rejection, or if we see this break above this 110 with a big daily candle close above it like this, we'll be expecting further movement upward inside this rising broadening wedge. So impulse correction, and we are currently in the middle of the impulse. If we break it upward, we'll be expecting a movement till the upper bound of this one, which would be around 114. It depends because it's a non-horizontal one, so it depends on how steep the price would approach it. But for now, let's take it step by step. We are here, so as you clearly noticed, we don't want a break below the 3.9k on US500, and we don't want a break above this one on the XY. The XY is basically the USD index. So of course we would like the USD index to go down because we go for Bitcoin slash USD, right? So if this one goes down, this pair would go up and vice versa, right? So that's why we are keeping an eye on the XY as well. We want it to go down. Just like US500, price is forming this low now, so we would like to see a break below it, like this, for the bear to take over. Also, just like a 1 to 3 pattern or a double top, or it depends on where the price would break. Maybe it would form like a double top, maybe, a head and shoulders. It depends, but this is currently our last low. Now, let's go for USD dominance and dig into crypto. You can see a very similar chart. From daily time frame, we are currently around the resistance zone. As you clearly see, resistance previously broken upward, support multiple times, resistance again, and resistance, right? The bears tried to take over by breaking below the previous low. So from a structure perspective, we were bearish previously, broken below the previous lows, and then a classic retest to it, traded lower. So we were bearish, making lower highs, lower lows. Then the impulse movements were getting smaller, so big impulse, and smaller and even flat impulse, giving us an early alert that a potential reversal might happen. It was confirmed after a break above the previous high, lining up with the previous low here, and we had a break a classic retest, traded higher. Just like previously, impulse were getting weaker. The exact same thing we can see from the bullish trend. So impulse movements are getting smaller and even flat. And again, a classic retest. So now we are bearish on USD dominance, and we are currently in this classic retest till around the resistance zone again. That's why we are still around the resistance, which makes total sense because the DXY is around the resistance, US500 is around a support zone. So a critical area now, if US500 would break below it, we will see the XY breaking, breaking above it, and you will see also USD dominance breaking above it, which wouldn't be good for the crypto market. Of course, just like the XY and US500, for the best to take over here, we need to see a break below the zone. This is the last low, also like a head and shoulders pattern forming, and this would be the previous zone, which is covering the entire structure, and you can see a minor support and resistance here as well. So I'd like to see this to have or to speculate or to see a bullish movement in the crypto market. Vice versa when it comes to Bitcoin. We are now around the support zone. If broken downward, right? If broken downward, we'll be expecting further movement. Lower, it would be a correction because, of course, we are still overall bearish. A big impulse, a correction, a big impulse. We are currently in this correction. If we have this break, it would signal the start of the third impulse movement downward, and the next support would be around, as you can, I don't know if you can see my alerts, around 10 to 12k in my opinion. So this would be our next support if we have this big break, and by break I mean a daily close below it. Just like what happened previously, if you can see it, a break here below the 50k, break below the 40k, break below the 30k. If we see this, we'll break below the 20k and we'll trade lower. From lower time frames for now, since we're around a support zone, and yes, we are stuck inside a big range, you will see this range like almost on all altcoins, right? We are currently retesting the support zone, also at a small or a minor demand, also just like USDT dominance or like vice versa. Okay, we were bearish, post took over, impulse. We are currently in this correction, unless trade lower, make a lower low. In this case, this one would be a fake out, but for now, this is the beginning of a new short-term trend. Just like previously, broke above this one, impulse correction, and so on until the last low is broken downward, bearish impulse correction, last high is broken upward. Now we are expecting this movement. Of course, we don't buy blindly, we always zoom into lower time frames and wait for extra confirmation, which would be the exact same zone we saw on the DXY, US500, and so on. This would be it. Here we go. If we break above it, we'll be expecting further movement upward, of course, just like we saw on many like USDT dominance. Here we go. Let me show you real quick. Here we go. This zone is instead of this and the XY and US500, we have this one minor one and the medium term one, just like here. Okay, so that's it for Bitcoin. This would be an alert that the bulls are taking over, and this would confirm it even more. Meanwhile, we are bearish until or unless we break above it. We can still trade lower. It might be an impulse, consolidation, and then an impulse again. Okay, in this case, we'll be expecting a projection of this one, just like right here, till around the lower band or inside the support. But even if we trade lower from here, would be still inside the support zone. We also have a demand zone right here, so we might trade lower and then the bulls will take over. In this case, I would like to see a break above the 20k because it's a strong round number. For now, we are still fine, still sitting around above the 20k. For the bulls to take over, I would like to see this happening. Now, the exciting one, because like we had the merge just today, weekly time frame, the exact same thing or very similar price action to Bitcoin and so on. We are currently above the 1.5k, which is a strong support zone. Of course, if we break above this entire zone, it would invalidate this bearish trend. We might be getting into a bullish trend. For now, we are stuck here inside this, if you want to call it a floor, so support and resistance between 1.5 and 2k. If you go to daily time frame, you can see a consolidation here, just like the one we saw on Bitcoin. This is a support. We'll be looking for a buy. Unless it's broken downward, we'll be expecting further moving downward to the 1250 or even to the 1K. If you zoom into H4 time frame, we can see that just like Bitcoin, the bulls are trying to kick in. We've got a bullish trend, prices trading inside this rising broadening wedge now. So we'll be expecting a trend continuation if and only if the bulls will take over, because for now the bears are clearly in control after breaking below this head and shoulders pattern neckline broken downward like yesterday. For the bulls to remain in control and trade inside or keep on trading inside this rising boarding wedge, we need to see a break above it. In this case, we'll be expecting further continuation to the upside, maybe also making a higher high to reach around the 2K, which is our next major resistance. Meanwhile, and until this happens, okay, Ethereum can still trade lower. We are still in a bearish trend, so impulse correction. Maybe we'll have another impulse, a correction, and then the bulls will take over. That's why I have my alerts right here, of course, and I have it below this area in case we break below it. In this case, further movement low will be expected. So just like Bitcoin, we might trade lower. Let me show you again. We might trade lower before the bulls kick in, but as long as we are inside the 1820K on Bitcoin and above the 1500 or like 1450, 1500, this support zone, we would be fine. Would be still be looking for bust stops unless, of course, the support is broken downward. Like, don't try to predict the exact bottom. Trading is reactive and not predictive. Wait, just like chess, right? Wait for your opponent to make the first move and then react accordingly. Wait for the market or the price action to make the first move and then we react. For now, what we know is we are bearish from a long-term and a short-term perspective. As you can see, this is what I mean by short-term, and we might make low lows and lower highs until the bulls take over by breaking above this, which would be breaking above this high, breaking below this low, breaking below this low, and breaking above this high. That's why I always keep an eye on the DXY and US500 as well. So that's it for today. Best of luck, and I'll see you hopefully next time. Let me know if you like this type of videos where I go over multiple coins to feel the overall market. Trade safe, be safe, and I'll see you soon.